Now the embargo on this product has finally finished, and today we are talking about the Stella FK, the 2022 release that the channel has been testing for the last couple of months behind closed doors, and today we are going to look at a full review of it. In this video we are giving one of these away, and I'm pretty excited to go through some of the cool gadgets that are in this reel because there's some stuff in here that has not been seen in the industry before. It is brand new to the market, and if you're a gadget guy that likes new features, you're gonna like this. Now firstly, as always, full disclosure, the reels that you see in this video have been provided free of charge for the purposes of review by Shimano Australia. And I'm talking about the 2500 that you see here that is brand spanking new in the pack, and the 1000 that I've been playing with for literally months on the water, both in the kayak and the boat. Both of these reels are being sent back to Shimano, but a big shout out to Shimano Australia for providing the opportunity for the channel to have a look at these pre-release. Now, interestingly, from the outset, this reel has got some pretty high expectations to live up to, not only for personal expectations from myself, but it is Shimano's flagship reel, so you are expecting the best of the best in this reel. Personally, there's a bit of nostalgia associated with the Stella for me because when I got back from Afghanistan around about 8 years ago, the Stella 2014 FI model, I think it was, came out and hit the market. I had a bit of extra money in the bank account and I decided to splurge and buy my first $1,000 reel. I think I got it for around about $950. Within a couple of months, I actually had 3 of them on board, and they were very much the reels that I cut my teeth on. They were my first high-end reels, but I really honed my craft in fishing, or the light finesse game fishing, using these 3 reels, and they are still on the boat today. They're still working fine. Those 2014 FI models have literally caught thousands of fish for me, so when this guy came out, I was really excited to see some of the new features that are packed into it, because there are a couple that, like I said at the intro, are brand new to the market that have not been seen before.
My heart rate is pumping right now. Woo! Steve, I'm going to show you the upgrade you have just given me. Like, look at that. Yeah, buddy.
Now for me, during testing, there were 2 main features, 2 big features that really stuck out for me personally, and if I understand correctly, these features will actually flow through the remainder of that Shimano range in the next year or 2. The first has got to do with the rotor and the spool movement. Now, I'll quickly focus in here, but you will see it is easy to tell how quickly that rotor moves around and how slowly that spool is moving up or down. That spool is oscillating so slow when you compare it to other traditional reels. And what it means is that line is being laid onto the spool flat, uniform and parallel, and this is a good thing. If you take the example of a garden hose in your backyard, we all know that if you feed the hose unevenly back onto the hose reel after you're done with it, you know you're going to have problems unwinding it the next time you use it. You can expect the hose to jam and tangle and just be a little bit more difficult to get out of the unit. If, however, you lay that hose nicely and evenly back onto the reel, you know it's going to come out evenly with less hang up and less friction. That means for any given cast or force or pull, you're actually going to get more line off this reel because of that same theory. Now, practically on the water, what does that equate to? It's hard to tell. I reckon I probably felt around about 5 to 10% increase in distance, and that means that on a 30-meter cast, or just short of 100 foot, I was probably getting an extra 3 or 4 meters maybe, or an extra 10 foot if you like that feet kind of conversion. I think where I really felt it though was on those shorter casts and pitches where it was just taking a little bit less effort to get that lure into where I needed it to. The second byproduct of having that really flat line lay is that when you cast the line, it actually creates this really cool pattern in this area directly off the top of it. Now, I didn't get the greatest footage of it on the stuff that I took, so I'll steal some Shimano stuff here so that you can actually see, but that's actually what it does look like when the line is coming off the reel. The feature of that slow oscillation and that rotor spool kind of arrangement there is actually called infinity loop, and infinity seems to be the term that Shimano have coined with a bunch of the different features that are on the Stella. Now the second feature I think I've been the most excited about on this reel is the AntiTwist Fin. Expect to get a whole bunch of close-up shots here, but it's a line management tool that I think is nothing short of genius. Specifically, it holds the line against the roller so you never ever suffer any line slag when you're resting. The benefit here is that you're not going to get any tangles from sagging line wrapping around the spool or the rotor or even the handle, and that is why I am a big fan of it. To To play this out, after you cast your lure out, flick the bail arm over, the anti-twist fin and the bail arm will guide your line into the space and seat it right next to the roller. From that position, it doesn't matter if you jerk it, if you pause it, if you let it sag, if you stop winding, if you continue to wind, the line will stay in that spot. The line sits where it's meant to sit, up against the roller, and that's exactly where it stays. Now, specifically about the fin, because it is new, there are 2 points that I should mention. Firstly, it's made from a flexible polar bar, so it doesn't fray the line as the line passes over it, and if you touch it, you can tell it's polished and soft and smooth, a different material from the remainder of the reel. So that's pretty cool. Secondly, it's pliable and folds away if anything tries to get through that little gap. And admittedly, it is a little gap, so of course I had to test it out. What I was concerned with was that that gap between the line roller in the fin would be too small to take long leaders through, or particularly the knot, and I was worried that the knot would get jammed through that little gap. Now, I tested this extensively because I thought if this feature gets onto the entire Shimano range, would that be restrictive? And the answer, I'm gladly to say, is no, because I think 95% of anglers don't fish with leader and braid combinations that actually have your braid leader knot on the spool. For the other 5% you just need to consider the type of knot that you are using. On the 1000 size reel, which obviously has the smallest gap here, I did find that 12-pound braid and 12-pound leader tied together with a large, fat, Albright knot produced this little clicking sound. Now, I know that test is artificial because I don't think you're going to be using 12-pound gauge or 12-pound test line with a fat knot on a high-end $1,000 reel. As soon as I changed that fat, improved Albright knot to an FG knot, I had no clicking sound and the reel worked just fine. I would foot stomp this and say though that if you're using a 1000 size reel like I was, you're probably not going to be using 12-pound leader and 12-pound line with 2 rod lengths worth of leader. Obviously, it's not a problem if you're using straight through monofilament or fluorocarbon, but realistically for me, FG knots, no problem at all in all line tests under 12 knots or 12 pounds, sorry, that I used. I think if I was to pull like a so what from that little bit of a test is that if you're going to buy a small reel, it's probably important that you consider the type of line class that you put on it. I guess if you're spending 1,300 Australian dollars or, cheaper stateside on a reel, you're going to consider that anyway. But to circle back on it, I really do think this fin is genius. It really does clean up that line management everywhere around the reel. I don't think on the water there's much more that is more frustrating than getting knots and wind knots and tangles that stop you from your time fishing. So personally, I think you'll have a really tough time trying to convince me that this anti-twist fin that is in here is not a good thing, and truthfully I think it probably should go on every single reel in the range. The third feature that jumped out at me was the top of the spool, in particular the Spool Crown. I'm not sure if it's called that, but let's call it that for now. What Shimano have done is they've reduced the clearance from 43 degrees to 25, and even though their advertising does say that's meant to help casting distance, in my opinion it is there for the wind knot. It helps with that line lay when you close the bail arm over the top so that you help minimize the area the line can actually get caught up on. The so what for that is wind knots, because we all know that a line laying across the top of your spool has a pretty high probability of resulting in a wind knot. Now cosmetically, straight out of the box you do get a case, but I think a lot of people are going to like the look of the Stella. It isn't as chrome and it does offer something different to the Daiwa counterpart. And for me, it looks like what traditionally you would see a high-end reel look like. There's the slits in the side of the spool that are vertical that we're used to seeing with the Stella. And it's definitely got that classy high-end finish. I will say though that whoever took those photos online didn't do this reel justice. The reel definitely has a darker metallic look than a lighter chrome. And admittedly, in some of the lighting conditions that I had it in, it actually has this tinge of green to it, almost like a olive green. Honestly, I think the thing looks dope. I really like it, but it is just simply not the chrome that is in those advertising shots. So, like we mentioned at the start of the video, we are giving away a brand new Stella in the 2500 size, a 2500 HG. Now, to enter, you need to do two things. The first is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below and tell me how long you have been fishing for. You can give me something as simple as a number, but I am really interested in how you got into fishing in the first place. The second thing you need to do is be a member of the channel. To join, visit the channel page on a web browser and click on the join button. You can join for as little as $1 a week, and doing so allows you access to information on the projects that we're working on, pre-release videos, and is obviously the area that I announce and give away the products that you see on this channel. So in 2 weeks time, one lucky member will walk away with a Stella 2500 brand new with their name on it. So get typing, good luck, and from the channel, I appreciate your support in keeping this channel independent. Now lastly, I wouldn't be doing this reel any justice if I didn't talk about the internal mechanics and the infinity cross that is inbuilt into this reel. I've covered before how Shimano are making a distinct effort through their silent drive technology to stop play within the reel, because mainly that play that you get increases wear and tear and reduces the longevity of a reel. With this reel, Shimano take it further and look at the internal gearing and how those teeth really mesh together. In layman's terms, by optimizing the gears and the way that the teeth kind of work together, you're going to get less wear and tear on that main gear in the center of the reel. They've got a cool graphic here that'll pop up, but you can see the surface area of where the actual teeth are engaging with each other is larger. That larger area means a shallower distribution of force and thus less wear and tear. And the so what for that means a longer lasting reel. And I think if you're going to spend $1,300 on a reel, you want it to last a very long time. To sum it up, I think that anti-twist fin and that infinity loop with the slow oscillations are going to mean some pretty interesting times and some pretty exciting times for the rest of the Shimano range to come. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember the giveaway, stay safe. I'll see you next time.